Okay, guys, well, I'm Whitney Carter. I'm a seventh grade English teacher in the middle school, and I'm going to take you through Google Classroom Basics. This is about my fourth or fifth year with Google Classroom, so this is more of an intro slash overview of what we're going to be doing. I don't know it all. I'm not a certified trainer or anything along those lines, but through distance learning, I have learned more through it. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so just sharing my screen, and what you'll see is just a quick slide of introduction to show you the format of what we're going to be working through, okay? So a couple things. I put this on the Google Classroom page for the elementary and the middle high school. I made a printable of this if you wanted it for your computer to pass out to your students as well. I think it's just handy for the Chromebook. Okay, so what I'm going to do is setting up a dashboard for Google Classroom. We'll do that first. Then organizing and creating your assignments with topics using the date, the week, or the day. And I'll show you how to do that and making sure that they're just in the classwork tab, not going in the stream, which can really clog things up and make it difficult for students and parents to navigate. And then grading and feedback. I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this just with my experience with doing Google Doc grading with the comments and creating a comment bank. Okay, and then here, extra links for other trainings and tutorials. There's a more in-depth Google training one. It's an hour and 45 minutes. I do not want to have this be that long. So I linked it out if you so desire. Okay, so let's get right to Google Classroom. Okay, so this has a bunch of classrooms. As you can see, I've got 2 from last year that I've kept on, as well as a demo class I just made for this. And I just figured I'd take you through and go through how to create and also the dashboard here. So before we even create a class, just something that I wanted to bring your awareness to is the to-do list. This can be super helpful for students and parents because it creates a to-do list for all of the classes the student is in. So if, let's say, they're really behind in math, all those assignments would come up here. If the parents check in, they'd be like, oh, let's go to math first before we head to science or something along those lines, okay? And it's broken up by assigned, missing, and done. So let's go back to review. So this is for the teacher, so you can create your own. Go to this for your grading if you'd like to, and it does the to review and reviewed, okay? And it goes through the numbers of what's been turned in, assigned, and graded. Some people like to use that option. I'm more old school. I like to go into the class and open the assignments that way. And then the calendar. This is something I plan on showing my students this year, middle schoolers. I think they'd be able to navigate it. It might be helpful more for parents, for elementary school students, younger kids. But you could go back from using your Google Classroom and distance learning, and you can just show them that when an assignment is created, it automatically appears on their Google Calendar. So this was my last assignment with the due date, the writing assignment, which was due on the 11th. And it comes up, it populates your calendar for you. So just another organization hack that students can use and parents as well. Okay, so let's create a class. Okay, so basically you can join a class, you know the code, or create a class. I think most elementary school teachers have emailed out or are planning to or already have distributed their codes. But first things first is just naming the class. If you see down here, I've always put a ton of information in that first line. It's just easier for me to see it all in the same size. One thing I would recommend that they actually don't put in here is the date range for the school year. So I teach 7th grade English, so I'm just going to make up my first block class, okay? So I'm going to say block 1. And I always like I said, the year, so I'll do 20 to 21. So feel free as I'm doing this, pause it, go do this on your own right now, get your stuff done. And then section, you can do block 1 again if you wanted to, or whatever class period, and you can break it down. Why I put the date, and I remember reading or seeing this, it's helpful for when you archive your classes and then you need to go back and look at something. You're like, oh, I did this really great project. Was that, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and then you can easily find it. And instead of going through and developing the assignment again, you can reuse the post from that year. So I'm going to create it. Okay, here we go. So for once you get set up, I would say going to the gear is probably the first thing you should do, just so your classes are organized with once everyone's enrolled and stuff. Oh, and before that, sharing your class code, which is right here. If you have students in front of you, you can display it in a larger size, copy the invite. There's so many different ways to reach out to your students. So you can do it like that. I typically, when we've had open house, I normally put the codes up then and students join on their phones even. So you can see the teachers, you can manually add in people by email as well. So invite your co-teachers in, invite your students, okay? And then going back to the stream, so your home page, okay? If you wanted to change your background, you can select a theme. They have some of these clip art type things here. You can upload a photo, which might be cool if you take a picture of your kids socially distanced apart. They could become the backdrop. You can pull something from your drive or from your downloads. I'm just gonna pull something from the virtual classroom that I've developed just so that they're used to seeing that image. So there we go. So if you pull a picture, I just did a cut and paste of this, and then you have to make it fit. Do it like that. I should probably get English 7 classroom in there if I can. Just do it as simple as that. Okay, there we go. And then that will be applied. Okay, so now let's go to your settings for posting and creating your work. So the gear wheel. So if you click on that, you can update and change this if something changes or something along those lines. Okay, like let's say if you put the room in, now the room's different. What I would do to start, you can do the invite codes and stuff like that if you wanted to, after everyone's populated the stream. So I would scroll down to stream right here, and it says students can post and comment. So that's basically, you know, your main page. You want to consider, do you want it to be that open? Do you want to do students can only comment, or only teachers can post and comment? Personally this year, I think I'm going to go with only teachers can post and comment. My students were pretty respectful. We've been using Google Classroom for a long time, but sometimes those comments, if they add things that can be distracting, you don't want to deal with them. But sometimes they can also be helpful, like, oh, Mrs. Carter, you forgot the link, or something along those lines. So that's something the teacher has to decide. Quite possibly for the beginning, maybe students can comment, and then you see how things progress. So I'll probably go with that actually to begin. Classwork on stream. Now this is the key for your organization right here. Show condensed notifications is an option. Show attachments and details. So that means all announcements, all assignments, everything goes on the stream. And that is where I felt it could be confusing and definitely overwhelming for students. So hide notifications. And you would explain that to your students that all classwork assignments will be in the classwork tab and not appear on the stream. Okay, and then the Google Meet. This is something you can generate if you do the Google Meet option. I know some people choose Zoom, but you would generate it, and then you could make it visible to students, and it would be visible in the top banner. But keep in mind, I would click that off when you don't plan on having sessions, okay? Grading, I won't go over, but there is the gradebook option now in Google Classroom. Okay, so I set my notifications for classwork in the stream. So what I would do probably to start, you know, my first announcement would be, you know, welcome students. And then I would do a clarifying statement. All assignments will be posted in classwork. And I think that's important because that is a bit of a shift too for older students, because my students, they would just go to the top of the stream to find their assignment, but now it's going to be a little bit more organized. So I'd post that. So really view your stream as opportunity just for announcements or resources that they might need to access a lot. So maybe I would do, for new 7th grade students, we created a virtual classroom with teachers, all the teachers in there, and this is still a work in progress, but I'm just showing you an example. So this is just a Google slide, and I would say, check out the 7th grade hub. Feel free to ask any questions or something along those lines, okay? One thing I should have mentioned, when you post, you can post it at that time, or you can schedule it or save a draft. So if you're working ahead, I know many of us, we would try and cram in a lot of assignments, a lot of work time in one session. So I found myself saving and scheduling, and then it would go out on the appropriate day. Also, keep in mind, you can select, if you teach more than one section of the same class, all the classes that it should be applied to, okay? And then all students or some students, like if you have a couple students you need to do a early conference with, you could select them and say, okay, yours is at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, so on and so forth. So post that. So that's your stream. I really highly recommend keeping the stream straightforward so it doesn't get overwhelming for students. Okay, classwork. So first thing we're gonna do, obviously, this is where you create your assignments, you attach your assignments, but I would do it with me now, topics, okay? And what has been determined really to be the most organized way to post the topics through distance learning is by date. I taught, Thursday was my day, so I would number my weeks. And I found, like, even with my own kids at home, most of their teachers, they would originally put things on and then they started going by date. And it just made things more easily understood, more easily found as well. So what I would do for topics, you can do week of, or elementary school teachers, you could even break it down by day. If you're posting, 5 to 6 things or whatever it would be. So I'm gonna do week of 9/8 to 9/11. Okay, and what I'd recommend, do about 3 or 4 weeks out, even do more than that if you'd like, because then as you create assignments, you can put them in the correct topic and then schedule them to come out. So this does really enable you to, the 14th, I think, work ahead here, okay? I'll just do next topic as well. So week of, so just so that we have some to start there, okay? And adding, and you can see they get listed up here. Did that last one not save? Shoot, hold on, so let me, sorry about that. Just any indication of how the year's gonna start. I just missed the first full week. It'll be interesting. Oh, there it is, hold on, it just popped up, so I'll cancel that. Okay, so there they are. Now, once you have your topics, you can start creating your assignments or attaching them, whatever they might be. So, I know some people did Cami, some people just go to their drive, some people just would post a question. I typically, being someone who's been using Google Classroom for quite a long time, I would reuse a post. So I'm gonna show this option very quickly, okay? This is where archiving, when you archive your classes and having the year can be really handy. Okay, so let's say, oh, and 18 and 19, I did this great activity, whatever. So I would go to that class. It might take a while. Okay, here we go. So stay gold journal entry. So this goes along with the outsiders. So I'd click this, I'd reuse it. Of course, when you reuse, make sure you read through to make sure the assignment's what you want it to be. Okay, so I've got my title, my instructions, I have a copy of the assignment, and I just have students can view it because I want them just to read through it. I don't want them to type within it. And then I have another resource, a treasure trove of adjectives that they can use for a descriptive writing. Okay, and then attach all those things. If I'm just going to take it through, if I needed to add something else, a link, YouTube file, Google Drive, very simple. Just make sure, if I clicked on this or whatever, insert, pretty basic. You just want to make sure your sharing settings are correct. So if it's something that you need them to each have a copy of so that they can write in it, make a copy for each student. Students can edit a file. So let's say if you have a brainstorming document, you want everyone to add their input. that would be the one to go to. If you just want them to read it, use it as a resource, as I'm doing for this one, it'd be view file. Okay. And then creating, if you do create, this just takes you, you select what type of Google Doc or slide or whatever it might be you want them to create, you would be creating rather, okay? And then you up here decide what class it goes to, assign a point value, or you can make it ungraded. Due date, so, you know, I'm gonna give them a couple days to do it, put in a time if you'd like, it's optional to do so. I typically, middle school, I would do 3 p.m., but that was normal school days because my point of that would be they would have the whole day and then after school to finish it up. But so think of what would work best for you and your students, and now topic. This is where you need to put it in the correct week, okay? So I'm just gonna put it in that first week. And then a rubric you can create. That's a whole other training, I would say, but to be honest, I did a rubric for our final competency for the distance learning, and it was really easy to work through, okay? So I've got all that, everything checked. And then additionally, if you are doing multiple assignments during the week, another option you could do is putting the date here. So it is, today is August 26th, so I do 8/26 if I was posting it on that day, okay? Or even type in, you know, it's Wednesday, 8/26. I really had to think about that. So then schedule for when you want it to be posted, save, discard. So I'm just gonna assign so you can see what it looks like. And there it is. So now if I go to stream, it's not on the stream, but it's in classwork. And I go there and you can see it's a new assignment. So I click on it, view assignment, you can see I don't have any students in my classroom, but it would have them there listed with the assignment as well. One other organizational hack that I recently learned, oops, hold on. In creating your assignments, let's say if you make something and so I assigned this for this week and I'm like, oh, I didn't get to it. This is a new thing in Google Classroom. Well, it's new to me, maybe it's not to you, but the click and drag. So you can actually click and drag an assignment instead of going through, opening it back up, editing it, and changing the topic. So this is great. So if you create like 5 or 6 assignments and then you don't get to, you know, the last 2 or 3 for that week, drag it to the next week. And it just is a good way to keep it organized. Another way to change, as I was talking about the 3 dots here, it's like a vertical ellipsis, rename, delete, copy link, move up or down. But I think what I just showed you probably works best. One additional thing that's just something extra. So let's say if I did want to edit this, okay, so I'm going to go to edit. There's this great, I think it's a Chrome extension as well. It's called Emoji Copy. So I already have the site open. It's pretty basic, as you can see, it's just an emoji keyboard. But if you wanted to color code assignments or even use an icon, you know, like this is a reading assignment or a writing assignment, you'd use a pencil. But the color coding is another option, just to keep it simple. So let's say I'm just going to do red. So I click red, I copy it here, and then I'm going to go back to the assignment and Control V, paste it in. And then they see the dot, and it can just draw their awareness and help them organize, I would say. In addition to that, the exclamation point can be a good one if there's something like really important, especially if you're putting out an assignment just to a couple students who are, you know, delinquent in doing it and they need to do a little bit more work and it's urgent. You really could have fun with this, create your own organizational system. Even, you know, I was just thinking, include the students with it. Say, what do we want to do for when we do quizzes? What color should it be, or what emblem, you know, would you pick? Gym, you could do all different the physical activities. Thinking a foreign language, you know, if you have something, if you do a food unit activity, so weather, all that stuff. This really, I think, does appeal to elementary as well. I think they would get a kick out of it. Okay, so going back, so I just added the red dot. I'll save. Okay, so we've got that. It's all posted. So that's how you organize your assignments, how you put them out to the students. Going back to the stream, now you'll see the assignments there, the oopsies, upcoming assignments that they have there. That's a great way. Just click right there and you can see what's coming up in addition to, you know, using the classwork tab. Okay, So lastly, what I wanted to do is go over grading and feedback, okay? So for that, obviously I don't have anything graded in here. So in my sample class, I'll take you to that one. Demo class. Classwork, I created a fake writing task, okay? And then, so you can see view assignment, I just wrote random, pretty much gobbledygook. And I signed it, my daughter took it. I just used her account. So I open it up. And you can see I just made a couple sentences what I thought she would say. I can't wait for school to start. I'm excited to see my friends and teachers. It'll be so much fun to have a better teacher. I am looking forward to school starting so my kids can see they're wonderful teachers in the elementary school. So let's say if this was a full essay, and this is what I've been doing for the past maybe 3 or 4 years. I go paperless with all my writing, and we use a lot of the Google Chrome extensions and tools. But if you wanted to give feedback through this, you can, highlight. I just want to go over this because I know some people might not know. Highlight it, add a comment, okay? And then you can type there, oh, great job, whatever it might be, okay? And then you hit comment and it stays there. And then when they go back to open the assignment, they can see all your commentary. So when I've graded essays in the past, I fill out the comments. And over time, what I've done, and I'll show you, so if I add another comment, I've created a comment bank, which is over here. So you can click and drag these over, or I think what is really good as well, if you just start typing, so let's say if this was like a fragment, if I start typing, maybe that won't come up. Yeah, okay, phew. So, and it will auto fill with what you have already there, okay? And that's such a time saver, because if you're like, let's say you have a recurring error, like they didn't capitalize the first letter of the sentence, still see that in 7th grade. You could just go right to it, and then you don't get that grading rage is what I would call it, as you're constantly doing all the different corrections. So this is a great way to do it. And then when they go back in, and you can link to this, you can do a whole bunch of stuff, okay? And after you type, let's say if you write a really thorough paragraph about a skill or something along those lines, you can add it to the comment bank now. This has been added so that you don't have to, retype it just to save it for future grading, okay? Mark as resolved. So what they do when they go back in, so let's say I had them all turn in these assignments, and then they go back in and all of these appear, they click on the cursor, and you can see how the comment just moved over a little bit. And let's say if it said, capitalize, they would go through, make the correction, capitalize it, and then they mark it as resolved, and it goes away. So this is something to consider, because sometimes you feel like when you assign things in Google Classroom, you're like, are they even looking at the feedback? You could create an assignment to follow up saying, go to such and such assignment and resolve all the comments. And I would probably even do an example with them. That's what I've done before in my classroom, make a little video of how to resolve the comments. Okay, so that's grading and feedback. So let's go back to the home page real quick. I'm just going to close that out. I'm trying to think if there's any other things that I should be reviewing. If you have questions, definitely make sure you reach out to me. Oh, I know the last thing I was going to share is there is a Livonia High School, Middle School PD Google Classroom. So you can see the code right here. I am going to post this within here, and as I said, I'm going to put the time. So after I finish up this video, I'll put in, how, if you just want to review how to set up, you'd only have to watch the first 4 minutes or whatever it might be. So I'll put the times in these white boxes right here, and then the extra links, these are just some things I've added. I might add more before the training, but extra links for training, click if you want. And then these are just linked out to YouTube. So as I said, if you are new to Google Classroom, this one, it's an hour and 47 minutes, but it's pretty thorough. These next two are by a teacher who I've watched some videos. It's how I've taught myself with a lot of this stuff. She does a great job. And then also the Bitmoji Classroom, which is something for our more intermediate, I would say, users, okay? And then the printable is right here, okay? So other than that, if you guys have any questions, please reach out during the virtual office hours, and I'd be happy to help you. Okay, thank you.